The WNBA just announced their 2025 schedule, and you guys, the teams are already getting messy. The drama has already begun, and I am loving all of it. What's up, you guys? I'm Rachel DeMita, and welcome to the Courtside Club. Just yesterday, the WNBA announced their 2025 schedule, and I was so impressed by how creative each individual team got with their rendition of their announcement. So if you guys missed it, it was going viral yesterday on social media. Each team came up with a unique way to announce their schedule. Now, a lot of these teams did something that involved a little bit of comedy, maybe a TikTok trend, maybe throwing shade at certain teams, but I'm all for it. We have talked about so many times during last WNBA season how I feel like the WNBA missed the mark so many times when it came to social media, when it came to marketing, when it came to capitalizing on certain players, on certain matchups, and it seems like they might have hurt us because some of these teams did such a good job, and the way that the schedule is already laid out, like there's a lot of good things about what's happening here. So let's go over it. Firstly, I want to look at the actual schedule. So on night one, we have the Atlanta Dream and the Washington Mystics, the Minnesota Lynx versus the Dallas Wings. Now, the hype there is that we have Nafisa Collier, one of the best players in the league, going up against likely a Paige Beckers, who will be on the Dallas Wings with Enrique Ogunbowale. So those are three players that I feel like a lot of people have an appetite for. That should be a highly anticipated game. And then the 7 p.m. slot, we have the Los Angeles Sparks versus the Golden State Valkyries, which the Golden State Valkyries will have their expansion draft on this Friday. So we don't even know yet what players are going to be on that team. But this is already, I can see what the WNBA is trying to do here. They're trying to create this mini in-state rivalry between the Los Angeles Sparks and the Golden State Valkyries, because these are also two teams, you guys, realistically, that probably still won't be great in 2025. But already starting to like build that rivalry, kicking them off on the first day. I thought that was great. I thought that was brilliant. Now let's look to day two of opening night on Saturday, May 17th. Of course, you guys, we have the Indiana Fever going up against the Chicago Sky. The WNBA saw what happened last season. There is still this, what I like to think is a manufactured rivalry, because I don't personally think this Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark rivalry is going to last much longer. I don't think it's great for either one of them, and I think that we saw last season in this Rookie of the Year race that Caitlin pulled away quickly from Angel Reese when it came to skill on the court, but that is not saying that Angel Reese isn't a star in herself. She had a great rookie season, and she is still a massive celebrity in the WNBA, but I just feel like this rivalry is gonna fade out quickly. I think that there are better rivalries for the Fever, but they do have these two going up against each other night one. And then they have the Las Vegas Aces going up against the New York Liberty, two teams that I'm pretty sure hate each other. And then we have the Seattle Storm going up against Phoenix, who are also two teams that I don't think are too fond of one another. Now, I know a lot of you guys who watch this channel are huge Indiana Fever fans, so I do want to talk about their schedule in detail a little bit more. One thing that I thought was interesting, going back to this Chicago Sky matchup, they are actually playing the Chicago Sky 5 times this season, which is more than they are playing any other team. The most that they will play any other team is 4 times during the season. Again, I think this is going to be a situation where the Indiana Fever are going to be good next season. They were, a 6 or 7 seed going into playoffs last year. I think that they're going to be up there. I'm throwing that prediction out there now. I think that there's no way that this Indiana Fever doesn't improve from last season, especially with their new coach. Especially, we will see what pieces they decide to keep, what pieces they decide to trade for, who they decide to draft. Like, I think the Indiana Fever are going to be really good. I'm not sure if I can say the same for the Chicago Sky. It seems like their organization in general is in kind of a messy place right now. We are seeing whispers online that Kennedy Carter might not stay with the Chicago Sky. We saw that Angel Reese was not happy when they fired Teresa Witherspoon. So I just feel like this could be a situation where the Indiana Fever wins 5 out of 5 games. And if that is the case, then that rivalry won't stand. However, I do think that the true rivalry here is the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun, because obviously they played first round in the playoffs and they essentially stole the Sun's coach. Like, Stephanie White used to be the coach of the Connecticut Sun. Now she's with the Indiana Fever. I think that is a better storyline. I think, Dejanay Carrington is the one who is actually guarding Caitlin Clark. Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark don't guard each other, so it's hard to put them in that same category. I think that is the true rivalry. So we will see as the season progresses. We'll see if the Chicago Sky do end up being a better team than they were last year, and also if the Indiana Fever end up being a contending team, which I think they have the ability to do. So that's to start off the season. We have also gotten news that the prices for the Fever game when they take on the Sky on opening night is currently sitting, the get-in price, so the lowest price is $271. You guys, that is more expensive than 29 out of 30 NBA home openers this year. Only the Celtics had a higher price value than this game. So I think that it's fantastic that the WNBA leaned into this kind of manufactured rivalry between these two players, whether they like each other or not. They say that everything is fine, but I feel like, the media has hyped it up. Fans like to see it. They did a fantastic job by putting these two once again on opening night, and the numbers don't lie. We see how expensive tickets are. I feel like that's going to be a box office game. A lot of us are going to be tuned in. They put it dead smack in the middle of a Saturday afternoon, no other sports on, so we'll all be tapped in. So now I want to talk a little bit about the team announcements, because I feel like there were mixed emotions online. Some people were saying, these are amazing, these are hilarious. Other people were getting offended by them. I personally thought that all of these announcement videos, TikToks, all of the things, I thought they were all in good fun. I think it's cool that they're throwing a little shade here and there. So let me tell you guys what I'm talking about. For example, the Atlanta Dream made a video that says, "Welcome to the cookout." And basically in this video, as you can see, there's a bunch of people at a cookout and they're saying who they invited to the cookout. And it's all of the teams, all the WNBA teams are kind of arriving, and each one has just a different theme. So when they announced the New York Liberty, they had the Tims on. When they talked about the Chicago Sky, there was a cowboy hat with a little pink ribbon, which to me was an ode to Chicago Barbie, Angel Reese. But Fever fans had an issue with the Fever reference. So here is the point where they are pulling what looks like a little, well, it is a wagon, and it says bandwagon, and there are Fever t-shirts hanging over it. Some Fever fans took offense to this. I get it, because the fact is that every time the Fever played Atlanta, they had to move their games to a bigger arena to accommodate for all the fans that wanted to see the Indiana Fever, and they weren't doing that for other teams. So, but also, don't be soft. Let's all not be soft on this. I get it. The Fever is that team that everyone's going to go after because they are the ones who drew the most eyeballs. They were the biggest draw of the WNBA season. And the fact is, a lot of fans who even started watching the WNBA are technically bandwagon fans. A lot of fans were not here before that were there last season. So it is what it is. It got people talking. It did its job. Let's move on. One of my favorite ones of this whole schedule announcement was the Minnesota Lynx. So they did a nod to a Spotify Wrapped, where they did every team as music or whatever. I will put it on screen so you can see here. My favorite one that the Minnesota Lynx did was for the New York Liberty. So the song is called Robbery. If you guys remember in the finals, we made a whole video about it. It seemed like that finals game was rigged because, you saw all the things, the travel, the no foul, all the things. So the New York Liberty said Robbery. Robbery by Juice WRLD, stolen by Chris Brown and Young Thug. And I just thought, here's an example of throwing a playful jab at, what has probably turned into a rivalry, and it will be exciting to see these two teams match up once again with one another. I thought that was brilliant. I thought it was hilarious. Lastly, let's talk about what the Chicago Sky did. So they did the TikTok suspect is kind of running away trend. I thought it was super cute. The one that was really fun that they did about the Fever, here's what they had to say about the Fever.
Suspects fans are always adding us in the comments.
It was a fun little jab. It got people talking, and I thought that they did a great job. One thing that I did think was interesting, though, is the Indiana Fever didn't do any of this. They didn't do anything funny. They didn't make a skit. They didn't throw shade at any organization at all. The Indiana Fever knows they have the motion. They have people who are going to look up the schedule. They have people that are going to buy tickets. They don't need to do anything extra. They just knew that they were going to be under the heaviest spotlight. And from all of the drama last season, I do think that it was smart that they were just kind of like, yo, here's our schedule. Here's the cell phone wallpaper if you want to put our schedule as the background of your phone, and we're gonna leave it as that. We know that you guys are gonna buy tickets. Here it is. I think maybe like, let's see how this next season goes. If there's the same amount of like pettiness, drama, all of the things that happened last season, like players saying that they're scared to play in Indiana, like let's see if that stuff happens again. But if it doesn't, then maybe the following year they can go back to kind of having fun, and we can all just go about loving sports the way that we've always wanted to love sports. Like a part of sports is getting to poke fun and talk trash, and like that's just a part of the game, and to be able to do that freely without these weird narratives happening. Hopefully we get to that point, but honestly, you guys, with all of this, with also the last thing, the very, very last thing I wanted to mention, the official homepage of the WNBA right now, when they announce this schedule, is a photo of Caitlin Clark, and that's it. It's only Caitlin. It's not any other players. It's not any other teams. The fact that they are seemingly leaning into her finally at the very off the rip, leaning into her, like having her front and center. This is just something that I don't think that we would have seen last season. And I just think it's great. With that, you guys, let me know what you think about the schedule announcements. If there are any games that you will definitely be tapped into, if there are any team announcements that stood out to you guys the most, let me know in the comments below. Of course, thumbs up this video if you enjoyed it, and click that little subscribe button because we upload new videos every single week. And with that, you guys, see you next time. Uina.